Welcome to the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast, the place where we talk about getting businesses seen, remembered and chosen. I'm Joanne Pearce, a visibility specialist and friendly northerner, wife, mum and someone who's built 2 businesses from the ground up on nothing more than a wing and a prayer and sheer determination. I help independent businesses from around the world get found using honest, down-to-earth marketing grounded in real-life business experience. I believe that every business owner has a story to tell, and that story deserves to be at the very heart of their marketing. This podcast is for businesses of all kinds, whether you sell products or services, work locally or globally, are big or small, and you want to be found without relying solely on social media. Expect real stories, honest conversations, a good dose of northern humour, and simple visibility advice that will actually move the needle for your business. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast. So, how are you all? I hope you're all well and good. Last weekend was an interesting one for me, and I actually had an unexpected lesson in business that I have to share with you today. And it all came from an encounter with an elderly man and his little dog Oscar, right? So, it was just a normal Saturday afternoon, and we were visiting my dad where he lives in Stockport. So whenever we visit him, me and Eden always have this little routine where we nip out to the local shoe shop, Windsor's, and Eden has a browse around. Sometimes we get a pair of pumps or, some new trainers or something. And this Saturday was no different. And we said, right, let's head to Windsor's. Let's see what they've got in. Okay, so far, so good. Now, to get to Windsor's, we had to walk through Aldi's car park, which is just in front of the shoe shop. And as we were walking through the car park, we saw an elderly man who was struggling to pick up after his dog, who had just taken a giant shit in the car park, okay? Now, this man, he was clearly unstable. He was wobbling around a lot. He had a stick. He had a cap on. I couldn't really quite see his face at this point. But he was wobbling all over the place trying to pick this poo up from the floor. So we headed over to make sure that he was okay. Now, as I approached him and he turned around, he basically had all these cuts on his face, bruises, his lips had been stitched up. And I was obviously quite taken aback, and I just said to him, I said, "Oh my gosh, are you okay? Do you need any help?" And he just turned around and he said to me, "Oh yes, I don't feel very well." So I was like, right, okay, so let me sort the dog poo out. I said, "You just stay still, don't, bloody bend over and faint or pass out or anything like that, because I really wouldn't know what to do." So yeah, sort the dog mess out. And then he kind of like lifted his cap up and he showed me under his head, he had this huge scar that looked pretty fresh. It had gone, from the middle of his forehead backwards, finished in the middle of his skull. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's happened?" And he said that he'd had a seizure last week and fallen. So the hospital had stitched him up and they basically sent him home. And he had nobody at home to care for him. He just lives in this flat nearby. So he tried to get out to walk his dog, obviously not fit to do that, and then nearly collapsed on his way to get some sausages from Aldi, bless him. That's all he wanted. He said he just wanted some sausages for his tea. Oh, so I was like, right, okay, said to Eden, so we're going to help this man now. I said he needs to get himself home. And he was like, "Oh no, I really need my sausages." He said, "Would you help me to Aldi?" I was like, "Oh, it's only up the ramp. Of course we will." I could see Eden's face thinking, "What about my shoes, mummy? What about my shoes?" And I was like, "Right, come on, this man needs our help." So I got hold of him, got his dog out of his hands, because I thought, if he lets go of that, I'm not chasing the bloody pug up the street. So I gave the lead to Eden. She's really good, very responsible with animals. I said, "You hold on to Oscar. I'll get the man." And then we walked up the ramp and headed towards Aldi. And he was a big guy. I reckon he was about 6'3", something like that. And then as we get there, he just looked absolutely awful and he was swaying all over the place. I thought, right, I need to get this man a chair to sit down. If he really is that insistent on having his sausages for his tea, then he needs to wait outside Aldi while I get them for him, you know. So I approached the security guard there and I just said, excuse me. He said, do you have a chair or anything that this gentleman can sit on? He's not feeling well. You know, he needs to just rest. I just need to get him a bit of shopping. So this guy goes away, comes back, and he's like, no, sorry, all the chairs are in the staff room. Sorry about that. But, you know, he can sit on that pile of compost there. You know, like all the garden compost that they've got outside Aldi. I was like, why can't you just grab a chair from the special buys so you can go and sit on that? Honestly, anyway, so at this point, the man was like, no, I want to come round the shops with you and I can get my stuff. It's like, oh my God. Okay, you know what old people are like. Stubborn buggers, aren't they? So we go into Aldi. And then one of the ladies at work there got us a trolley so we could hold on to that. So he's holding on to the trolley. Oscar's tied up outside at this point, and me and Eden are on either side of him. So he said he just wants to get some sausages, some bread, and some eggs. I was like, right, okay, let's just get those things and then just get out of here so we can sort him out and get him home, call him a taxi or whatever. And as we were walking around, he's saying to me, oh, you're so kind. You know, there's not many people that would do this. Thank you so much. You're so kind. And I was like, it's fine. Look, don't worry about it. And Eden's face is there, like, when am I getting my shoes, mummy? How long are we going to be? So I was thinking, oh God, don't kick off in the middle of Aldi while I'm trying to sort out this old pensioner. But, you know, we got his bits for him and then we got to the till. And this is the thing that surprised me the most. So I offered to pay for it for him. I thought, I don't even know if he can get his hand in his pocket. I don't know. How are we going to do this? So I said to him, look, I'll get these. Please don't worry. It's only a little bit of shopping. And he was like, no. Go in my pocket and there's my wallet and then get the red card out. He said, and I'll tell you the PIN number and you can pay for the shopping for me. And I was like, oh my God, I've known this man for like, 20 minutes? And he's giving me his bloody PIN number on his bank card. I was like, right, okay, then if you're sure. So Eden put everything on the conveyor belt and then he gets his card out of his pocket and he's like, there's your PIN number. Said, right. Anyway, did it all, sorted him out. And then as we were walking out, he just said to me, I can't walk home. I said, no, of course you can't. I said, we can call you a taxi. And he was like, a lot of taxi drivers don't take dogs. And what am I going to do about Oscar? And he was getting really upset. And I was like, well, where do you live? So he said he lived like literally 5 minutes down the road. So I was like, okay, we're at my dad's house. Let me give my dad a call. He's got a nice car. You know, it's big enough for us all to get in, plus Oscar. Said he won't mind. I was thinking my dad's going to kill me. He hates it when Eden like drops a little crumb of a biscuit in the car. Always did when we were little as well, me and my sister. If we ate snacks in the car, we used to have to have this technique where it was called the bite and suck. You bite into the biscuit and then you suck it up so you don't get any crumbs in his car. And I was thinking, oh God, he's going to have a pug in his car soon. He's not going to be happy. But I didn't tell him that. I phoned him up and I asked him for his help. And Dad being Dad, ever the superhero, he was like, yeah, I'll be there in 2 minutes. So turns up and there we all are, stood outside Aldi, minus Oscar at this point, who was hidden around the corner, tied up. So my dad helps get this elderly gentleman into the car, at which point I said to him, oh, just to let you know, Dad, we have got a dog that needs to come in the car as well. And he looked at me. Bloody hell. I said, it's fine. I said, I can't leave the dog here. Come on. He's like, no, okay, it's fine. Get him in. So then this man said to my dad, oh, thank you so much for this. You know, you're such a gentleman. And again, my dad, being Dad, said to him, well, it's absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. As long as you don't live in bloody Blackpool, 100 miles down the road. Anyway, he didn't live in Blackpool. He lived like 2 minutes in the car. So we took him home and got him out of the car, opened up his flat. He gave me his keys. We got him inside. I put his shopping away, you know, and then as I was leaving, I could see him wobbling all over the place and I was just worried sick about him. And I just got hold of his hand and I said, look, I said, please go and sit down. I said, don't try and do anything. Ring somebody if you need help, but just take it easy. Anyway, he said to me that he thought I was a beautiful person, which was really sweet. And he also said, he said to me, are you married? And I said, I am, yeah. And he said, well, tell your husband he's a lucky, you know what. I was like, okay, I'll tell him that. Thank you. And we left him. And then me and Eden headed to the shoe shop 2 hours later. I mean, by this point, she was boiling over. And she actually said to me, she said, Mummy, I was really needed to get to that shoe shop, but I know that man needed us more. And it really made me feel proud of her because I thought, you know, she has her struggles where if there is a change in routine, it can really throw her and throw the day. But she did manage to cope in that moment, which I thought was amazing. And we made it to the shoe shop and she got herself a pair of shoes. But what struck me the most from this encounter was the level of trust that this man put in us. Yeah, because within half an hour, he'd given me his bank card and his PIN number. He'd got into a stranger's car, like trusting that we were going to take him home and not abduct him and steal all his money and his cute little dog. He'd given me his house keys and he'd let me into his little flat to put his shopping away. You know, I mean, we could have been anybody, all right? Granted, a woman in her mid-40s with a 6-year-old wearing 4-inch fake nails with a toy bunny underarm doesn't really fit the profile of serial killer. But we must have made him feel safe. Yeah, and it got me thinking about business too. Because when we're talking about everything to do with our business, you know, our marketing, our websites, our social media, we're often focusing on what we think people need to see. Yeah. But what if the thing that really matters more than anything else is what people need to feel? Before people buy from us, they need to feel safe. They need to feel safe that we are going to do what we say we're going to do. Safe that we're the right fit for them. And safe that we're not going to waste their time or their money. And that feeling, that starts way before they even inquire with you or they make a purchase on your website. I mean, that man must have felt so vulnerable in that moment. And how much courage it must have taken for him to accept some help. And it just got me thinking, like, what is it that makes someone feel safe? It's usually not their expertise. You don't have to know everything about whatever it is that you do. You don't have to be the best candle maker in the world. You don't have to be the most qualified yoga instructor. You don't have to be the best surgeon. Or maybe you do, actually. But, we're not talking about expertise here and qualifications for the kind of work that we're doing. Not talking about titles either. What actually makes someone feel safe is usually much more basic than that. It's kindness and patience and being present for them. And the way that we make people feel matters so much more than we think it does. And I spend a lot of time talking about visibility, about websites, about your marketing. I do all that on my socials and to my clients as well. But none of that matters if people don't trust me. Like, they're not even going to give me a second glance if they think that I'm out to steal all their money. No chance. And I think what you have to remember when you're running your business is that people buy from people who feel safe, who feel predictable. People recommend people who feel safe. They come back to businesses where they felt looked after. And this trust doesn't just come overnight. It's built up in tiny little moments. So it might be your quick response to an email when someone messages you. It might be the fact that you've consistently put something on social media for 6 weeks in a row so they know that you're still going and that you exist. It might be that you acknowledge some feedback that somebody's given you. It might be a Google review or something. It might be that you've commented on somebody's social media post and said how lovely their work was. It might be that you've shared a testimonial. Anything. All these little moments, these tiny moments that seem insignificant, are what is building up the trust for somebody to choose you. And I think what's really important to note here is that our business isn't separate from who we are. And behind every business is a human being. It's me, it's you. And the qualities that make us good humans are what are making us good business owners as well. The kindness that we can show people, the trust, the compassion, making people feel safe. One thing that I always do to make people feel safe, and I think it's really important, is whenever I receive payment of somebody for a service, I will message them back as quickly as I can to say that that money has been received, safe and sound, it's in my bank, it's secured them a space with me in my diary, they don't need to worry. Because I think there's nothing worse, is there, when you pay for something, even online, if you're buying like an online purchase and you don't receive that email confirmation, you're thinking, oh God, that money's gone on my bank. And did I actually order it? Where's the email? I've not had anything through. And you're like refreshing and panicking, aren't you? Thinking you've been scammed. And I think that's the same with customer service as well. When someone places an order with you, make sure that you have got an automated reply that says, "Thank you, we have received your order." And if you haven't got one of those, then jump on your email and send them a message straight away. Same if you've got clients like me. If they are parting with any amount of money and they're choosing to give it to you, then you owe them a quick message to say, "I've got it, it's safe, thank you so much, I'm so excited to work with you." Like, that makes them feel safe instantly. They can trust you, you haven't dropped off the face of the earth. Because what you tend to find with a lot of businesses, once they've got the money in, they're not asked, are they? They don't reply to you, or they take longer to reply to you. They don't acknowledge questions. They're all very quick to answer your inquiries when they think the business is coming in. But once they place that order, sometimes the level of customer care just drops off a cliff. And that's where the trust disappears. So it's these little things that you can do, sending people messages, acknowledging them, that will build this trust and eventually get them to part with their money if they haven't already. And I think what stayed with me most from this story today wasn't what we did for him, because I think any genuine human being that walked past a 80-year-old man who was struggling would go and help him. It wasn't that. It was how quickly a complete stranger decided that he felt safe with us. Yeah, either that or he was just totally desperate and he would have just accepted help from anybody. But no, he did tell me on numerous occasions that he felt safe and he was so pleased that we had come along at the right time. Because the same thing is true in business, yeah? People don't buy from us because we've got the fanciest website or we've got the best logo or the biggest audience or the cleverest marketing. They buy when they feel safe. And a lot of my clients say to me, the reason why I chose you is because I feel like I can trust you. And that, to me, means that I'm doing my job right. If people can't say those words to me, then there's something wrong. And that man was very much like one of our customers. He didn't need an expert or a strategy or a solution to his problem that afternoon. He just needed someone to feel safe with. And that's true for more people than we realise, I think. Whether that's in business, in friendships, in our families, or with complete strangers, I think the world could do with a few more people who just make others feel safe. Yeah, and if there's one thing that I'm taking away from an Aldi car park on a random afternoon, it's this. You never really know what somebody is carrying, do you? But you might have more power than you realise to make them feel a little less alone. So I'm going to leave you with that thought this week. Have a think how you can make your potential customers feel safe enough to like you, safe enough to trust you, and safe enough to buy from you. So that is all for today. I hope this story has inspired you, has made you feel like you could do that little bit extra to make people feel that level of safety that they need to feel before they commit to working with you or buying from you. And of course, if you have any questions, just a quick reminder, we've got the summer holidays coming up here. I think it's 6 weeks to go. And then the kids are off school, so there will not be much chance to work. So if you have been thinking about getting some help for your business and you want me to squeeze you in before I finish for the summer, please do get in touch sooner rather than later. I've only got a few slots remaining for July. So if you want me to help with anything, be it look over your website, look at some keyword research for you. Maybe we need to find out what people are searching for in regards to your business and your niche. Maybe you just need a kick up the arse, or you just need me to help you get your ducks in a row, sort your head out, close down those 50 million tabs you've got open in your brain, whatever it is. Please do drop me an email, herhandmadehustle@gmail.com, and I will get back to you and see if I can squeeze you in before the summer holidays commence. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time on the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast. Bye for now. If today's episode has made you realise that visibility might be about more than just posting and hoping for the best, you are not alone. This is exactly the kind of thing I help independent businesses with, getting clearer on their story, their services, and how they actually show up online, especially on Google. If you want support that's honest, simple, and rooted in real-life business experience, I'm here. Visit my website, herhandmadehustle.co.uk, to see how we could work together. And if this episode helped you, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And don't forget to share it with someone else today who you think would enjoy it too. Thank you, and see you next time.